Hello, friends. So the title of this video is Lean Into It. And it was something that I guess it was like a concept that I picked up along the way from my good friend Kevin Lewis. And I, I don't know where I was when I first heard it, but I just remember that when I heard him say it, it left like an impression on me. And it's kind of funny. I don't know if it works for some of you this way, but whenever whenever I hear something or experience something um, that kind of like shakes me or captures my attention, I'll remember, like if it's a saying, I'll remember it in that person's voice. So whenever the concept of like lean into it. Whenever I'm applying that, I always hear it in Kevin's voice, like lean into it. Or like maybe the first time I heard JJ say, don't push against the river. Um, Whenever like I'm applying that or that concept comes up for me, I always hear it in her voice. And so I always try to actually for those two specific things, I try to apply that to I don't want to say well maybe my daily life. Like whenever I have the ability to slow things down and really be able to pick and choose how I want to move forward with something. Um those two things will often come up. Like if I guess when if I'm in a situation where, I could feel like my energy coming up or I get excited and emotional or, something's frustrating, then um, I'll often hear one of those two things, if not both of them. Like, don't push against the river, don't fight it, especially with frustration. I'll hear JJ's voice saying, don't push into or don't push against the river. And, or, um, I'll often hear Kevin say, lean into it when I'm trying to avoid something. And so I often, those two things are like some of my constants that and being present and being in the moment, but whatever. This video's not about that. So it's interesting because I was watching something on YouTube, a video, and I don't know if this guy's a psychologist or something, but he mentioned he was talking about something. Somebody's like, I think it was like a couple fighting or something, and he was like saying he's saying that he was talking to the guy, and he's like, "Yeah, good." He's like, "Oh, I feel frustrated and all this stuff." And it was like, "Yeah, good. Lean into that. Like, explore it more, right?" And I just noticed, like, it just seems like with the way society is moving and like some of the things we hear and I don't want to say influencers, but because some people don't mean to be influencers, but like the news or whatever, right? Trying to dance around that kind of subject, but um it's it's like there's a it's like they're training us or guiding us into avoidance and to like, oh, I don't like that, so I'm not going to explore it or I'm going to throw it away. And I started thinking like, well, I've had this thought for a while, but instead of avoidance, because that just creates more separation or even divide, how about leaning into it? How about exploring it more? Like, why does that make you feel uncomfortable? Or why should it make you feel uncomfortable if it doesn't? Right. And is it If it doesn't make you uncomfortable, but people are telling you that it should be because it's wrong or something, explore that. Why is it wrong? Or why do they think that it's wrong? And that it should be wrong for you. Like, does that resonate with you? You know, I just found it interesting, just how certain things pop up. They're in your mind, or you're exploring something, and then you let it go. You just move on because that's how life is. We just keep moving on, right? We keep walking the path. But then sometimes things come up, right? They pop back up for some reason. And like no coincidences, right? So, um, it comes back up for a reason. And so, like, when I catch those moments, I'm like, ooh, like, why? Like, why was this placed in front of me to capture my attention again, right? Whether it's like, oh, my guides put this in front of me, or it's just my awareness to the situation or topic um popped up. But yeah, I just thought it was interesting that all of a sudden I heard like two different instances of like lean into something, right? And it just I felt it worth a video, only for like a couple reasons, just to find out if you all agree with that, or what your thought process is behind like leaning into situations instead of like pulling away from it or like fighting it, right? I think I saw this thing the other day, and it was one of the most amazing things that I've seen, that I wish I could see more of, because there's less examples of it now. But there's two friends having a conversation where they were like on opposite sides, right? And so, and normally that becomes a big deal, right? And then people in the chat, I don't know if they were trying to egg it on, but there's like, oh, for this side, and then there's a group for this side, and people are saying like negative comments about one guy, like, oh, why do you have to be right, and all of this stuff. But the amazing thing to me was these guys are friends, and they never let their emotions um become like be placed in front of that. And so what was amazing was that they were able to like not have understanding with each other, have disagreement, but never make it personal. And I think that's what's amazing, is how two friends or two people that have mutual respect for each other can disagree and argue and fight, but not make it personal and not like get into their feelings. Like, and I think like, or I wish there's more examples of that that were displayed, because I think I don't think, I know we've lost that ability. It feels like we've lost that ability to have conversation, even if it's painful, or um, if it challenges your belief system, right? Because it feels like, you know, um, maybe society is like, if you challenge my belief system, then you're wrong. And like, you have to be right because you believe in something. And it's kind of saddening to see, because like there's so many fractures. I don't even want to say there's a divide, because that would imply that there's two sides, when there really isn't. There's just multiple sides. And so the more you divide something, the smaller it gets. And it's interesting because, you know, these it's almost like, people say, oh, there's two sides, left and right, right? The blue and the red, or the right and the wrong, the good and the bad. but it just feels like, okay, if you split everybody in half, there's two sides, right? But then the more that we interact, there becomes like more dividing because everybody thinks differently. Not everybody thinks exactly the same. But what's wrong with that? I don't think there shouldn't be anything wrong with that. That should be welcomed. That should be like encouraged because it brings more opportunity, right? Like if everybody thought the same and felt the same, then, you know, things would be kind of weird, right? Like, oh, I do the same thing on the same way. Like, oh, I do it differently. Oh, why is that? You know, I don't know. It's just interesting because we find it's like we're creating ways to avoid things instead of leaning into it, like going into it, like exploring more, you know, and not being like hurt because your identity is challenged. Shouldn't it be? Shouldn't shouldn't you challenge who you are and where you are and why you are that way? Because what if there's an opportunity for expansion, to grow, right? Or to heal? I don't know. I often thought about that, about like leaning into areas where we either push against the river or fight what's going on, like pain, right? Like maybe like physical pain, like, oh, my feet hurt or my knee hurts. They really do hurt, but exploring that, like instead of like, oh, grumbling about it or like succumbing to it. Like, what if you leaned into it? Like, what if you like explored, like, why? Is it because, I walked too much today? I got bad shoes, or, not to say like you're going to solve it, but I think there's like freedom from it when you look into it, when you don't fight it. Like, if there's no resistance, then things can flow, right? If you don't push against the river, then the river flows nicely, right? It's when there's obstacles in the way. And like, so it's interesting that we place obstacles or we try to run away or avoid or dodge, like pain points, like any kind of points that move us into a space where we're uncomfortable. Uh, I think those are the probably the moments where like we should want to like experience. Not to say like um, we should try to create them, but when they come, you know, we probably should embrace it because it's an opportunity to explore ourselves, heal ourselves, learn more about ourselves or someone else. But really, I think it's not about learning. Like, I don't know. I come to a place where it's all about me. And it kind of sounds weird to say that because, you know, it's like bordering on like, those weird, creepy people or whatever that I don't know if it's called narcissists or something like that, but I just feel like, I'm at a point where it's about everything is about me and how I like react and deal and process. It's like, I'm on this like exploration to find ways to become a better person or um I guess expand my horizons and stuff like that and break out of the shadows and lift the veils wherever they are or pull back the curtain wherever I created a curtain, you know. And so I don't think it like for me it becomes like well, this is about me and how I'm going to deal or process or feel or understand like these kinds of situations. And instead of avoiding it, why not explore it? Why not embrace it? Why not welcome it? You know, and maybe get something out of it that can make things better or make you better. I don't know. I'm just exploring a thought and sharing a little bit, but you know, I'm just curious, like, is this something that you all actively do already? Lean into stuff? Or do you tend to like, nah, I don't want to fight. I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to hear that junk. I'm not with all that weird stuff or anything like that. What do you, or do you just like, what does that mean? Like, how does that make you feel? Why is it that way? Why do you feel that way? You know, it's just I guess it's just exploring curiosity, right? Like staying curious. And I guess like that's what I'm trying to be about, I guess. Um, but I wonder if everybody else is that way. I guess because um for a while I've led a life of like seclusion and been almost like a recluse, and the big C, in 2019 gave me permission to be that kind of person. And it was funny because I wanted to be that person. I wanted to be that guy like in the shadows, in the cave, left alone. And it was weird because I was like forced to not be that person because of my daughter, right? And so like I got a soccer dad and coach the team and take her everywhere and stuff like that. So she forced me to be out, right? When I wanted to be in. And then, when 2019 hit, I don't know if you could say that word, the word, without like having your video banned. But in 2019, it gave us a reason to stay inside and to be a recluse. And you know, my job made me work from home. And so it's like even better. Like, yeah, now I don't have to experience people and be around people, and I can just be by myself. And my daughter like aged out of soccer and she graduated and all this good stuff. And I got to be like more in the shadows. But the trade-off was like I didn't experience stuff and I didn't learn about people and interacting and expansion and all of that stuff. And so it's like now I'm like wondering like what's it supposed to be like? When you're around people, when you're exploring thoughts and stuff like that. Because I created the world that I wanted and I realized, whoa, there's a lot of shortcomings with that. And so now, I'm trying to maybe break down the walls of my cave and, explore a little bit and, make the walls of my fishbowl a little bit bigger so that I have more room to like swim around in and stretch out. So I don't know. So, you know, like these concepts are like, wow, they're amazing. But are they like, do you guys like hear that and say, like, hey man, it's Tuesday? This is every day for everybody. So yeah, if you could share your thoughts in the comments, that'd be cool. Um, just let me know how you guys feel or what you guys think. Like, just give me something to think about. That's all I ask. I guess that's all I ask out of all of these videos is just like, because it's a one-sided conversation, there's no like real-time feedback. But That's okay. I like to make videos only because, so many people do lives and I don't wanna get in their way, because they have, like, regularly programmed, you know, kinda schedule, and so, like, this finds you when it finds you, and I like that, like, "Hey, we just got something, so, I'll tune in, you know, after dinner on Wednesday. I have free time for Richie," kinda thing. But anyway, that's alright. Yeah, let me know what you guys think. Like, am I off, misguided, or it's just like a everyday thing, Richie. Don't you're good for you. Welcome to the real world. But all right. Thanks, guys. I'll see you later.